Well, welcome and happy Easter to everyone. I'm bringing to you today some words of encouragement. Many of you will have a favourite passage of Scripture that you read or hear during Easter. And for me, I have many favourite passages, but I also have a favourite story. And it was a story I first heard about 4 decades ago. And it was a story that I asked the minister presiding at the service where I heard this story to see if I could get a copy. And I still have that copy today. And it's the most beautiful story that I'd like to share with you now. It's a story called The Ragman. It's an American story, so you'll hear imperial measurements and so forth, but the message is there nevertheless. I saw a strange light. I stumbled upon a story most strange. Like nothing in my life, my street sense, my sly tongue had ever prepared me for. Hush, child. Hush now, and I'll tell it to you. Even before the dawn one Friday morning, I noticed a young man, handsome and strong, walking the alleys of our city. He was pulling an old cart, filled with clothes both bright and new, and he was calling in a clear tenor voice, "Rags." Now, the air was foul, and the first light was filthy to be crossed by such sweet music. "Rags, new rags for old, I take your tired rags, rags." Now this was a wonder, I thought to myself, for the man stood 6'4", and his arms were like tree limbs, hard and muscular, and his eyes flashed intelligence. Could he find no better job than this? To be a ragman in the inner city? I followed him. My curiosity drove me, and I wasn't disappointed. Soon the ragman saw a woman sitting on her back porch. She was sobbing into a handkerchief, sighing and shedding 1,000 tears. Her knees and elbows made a sad X, and her shoulders shook, and her heart was breaking. The ragman stopped his cart. Quietly he walked to the woman, stepping around tin cans, dead toys, and nappies. "Give me your rag," he said gently, "and I'll give you another." He slipped the handkerchief from her eyes. She looked up, and he laid across her palm a linen cloth so clean and new that it shined. And she blinked from the gift to the giver. Then as he began to pull the cart again, the ragman did a strange thing. He put her stained handkerchief to his own face, and then he began to weep, to sob as grievously as she had done, his shoulders shaking, yet she was left without a tear. Now this is a wonder, I breathed to myself, and I followed the sobbing ragman like a child who can't turn away from a mystery. Rags, rags, new rags for old. In a little while the sun showed grey behind the rooftops, and I could see the shredded curtains hanging out black windows, the ragman came upon a girl whose head was wrapped in a bandage, whose eyes were empty. Blood soaked her bandage, and a single line of blood ran down her cheek. Now the tall ragman looked at the girl with pity, and he drew a lovely yellow bonnet from his cart. "Give me your rag," he said, tracing his own line on her cheek, "and I will give you mine." The child could only gaze at him while he loosened the bandage, removed it, and tied it to his own head. And the bonnet he set upon hers. And I gasped at what I saw, for with the bandage went the wound. Again his brow, It ran a darker, more substantial blood. His own. "Rags, Rags, I take old Rags," cried the sobbing, bleeding, strong, intelligent Ragman. The sun hurt both the sky now and my eyes. The Ragman seemed more and more to hurry. "Are you going to work?" he asked a man who leaned against a telephone pole. The man shook his head. The Ragman pressed him. "Do you have a job?" "Are you crazy?" sneered the other, and he pulled away from the pole, revealing a right sleeve of his jacket flat, the cuff stuffed into his pocket. He had no one. "So," said the Ragman, "give me your jacket and I will give you mine." So much quiet authority in his voice. The one-armed man took off his jacket, and so did the Ragman, and I trembled at what I saw, for the Ragman's arm stayed in its sleeve, and when the other put it on, he had two good arms, thick as tree limbs, but the Ragman only had one. "Go to work," he said. After that he found a drunk, lying unconscious beneath an army blanket, an old man, hunched and wizened and sick. He took the blanket and he wrapped it round himself, but for the drunk he left new clothes. And now I had to run to keep up with the Ragman, though he was weeping uncontrollably, bleeding freely at the forehead, pulling his cart with one arm, stumbling for drunkenness, falling again and again, exhausted, old and sick. He went with terrible speed. On spider's legs, he skidded through the alleys of the city, this mile and the next, until he came to its limits. And then he rushed beyond. I wept. I wept to see the change in this man. I hurt to see his sorrow, and yet I needed to see where he was going in such haste, perhaps to know what drove him so. The little old Ragman. He came to a landfill. He came to the garbage pits, and I waited to help him in what he did, but I hung back hiding. He climbed a hill with tormented labour. He cleared a little space on that hill, then he sighed. He lay down. He pillowed his head on a handkerchief and a jacket. Then he covered his bones with an army blanket and he died. Oh, how I cried to witness that death. I slumped in a junked car and wailed and mourned as one who has no hope, because I had come to love the Ragman. Every other face had faded in the wonder of this man, and I cherished him, but he died. I sobbed myself to sleep. I did not know, how could I know, that I slept through Friday night and Saturday and its night too. But then, on Sunday morning, I was wakened by a violence. Light, pure, hard, demanding light slammed against my sour face, and I blinked and I looked and I saw the first wonder of all. There was the Ragman, folding the blanket more carefully, a scar on his forehead, but alive. And besides that healthy, there was no sign of sorrow or age, and all the rags that he had gathered shined for cleanliness. Well, then I lowered my head and trembled for all that I had seen. I myself walked up to the Ragman. I told him my name with shame, for I was a sorry figure next to him. Then I took off all my clothes in that place, and I said to him with dear yearning in my voice, "Dress me He dressed me. My Lord, you put new rags on me, and I'm a wonder beside him. The Ragman.